Hey guys, welcome back to Rocket Gyan, my fellow space tubers. Today we are here to witness one of the interesting launch, I should say, because of the small nature of this rocket. Yeah, I should say that because it's a small set rocket launcher. And here we are again to witness the Rocket Lab's launch of the Electron rocket. And this Electron rocket will be like their rocket in which they are pushing their limits to recover it in and by catching it in the mid of the air with helicopter. So this is how it is done. Okay, if you don't know what Rocket Lab is basically a company which is sponsored, not sponsored, but backed by Peter Beck, and it is you can say we have dedicated launches of the small satellite and rideshare also. So you can say it is a small sat launcher, and the dedicated one has a bigger payload. I mean, the payload capacity of this is 200 kg, and so CubeSats does not have like a much of a weight. Okay, so it's like 2 to 3 kg, so that's where the rideshare missions comes in. But if you have a small sat which has like 100 kg, 150 kg of weight, then you can go with dedicated mission, and today is one of those dedicated mission which we will be seeing. Okay, so now we can have a look at the Electron rocket itself. Here we go. This is the rocket. uh, Frequent and reliable access to the space, because why does it call itself a frequent? Reliable is a thing, okay, you have a good rocket, that's okay, but why do they call themselves as a frequent one? Because this rocket launches at a very rapid rate, and when it is able to recover the first stage and then reuse it, then the launch and the turnaround time for this rocket will increase dramatically, because they are having like 3 launch sites, and those 3 launch sites are capable of launching 3 rockets simultaneously. So that's the revolutionary thing it has. So maximum payload it can carry is 300 kilograms, nominal is 200 kilograms. Stages 2 and 500 kilometers sun synchronous orbit is the most preferred ones for most of the satellites, so that's what it is going for. Height is around 18 meters, so you can say the fairing size of SpaceX is 13 meters. So if you like try to push it into the fairing of the SpaceX, then kinda if you detach it and put it there, it will go into the fairing of the Falcon 9, SpaceX Falcon 9. Yeah. Okay, so that's what it is. So here we have the payload adapter, as you can see here. First of all, let me just tell you about what the first stage is. So the first stage consists of 9 Rutherford engines, and these Rutherford engines runs on liquid oxygen and RP1 as its fuel. And you can see here it has a peak thrust of 192 kilometer, ISP 303 second, and a new propulsion cycle. Why do they call it? Because for the turbopump's rotation, it does not use a gas generator power cycle as such. What it does use is a motor which is rotated by batteries. So they are electric motors which are being used here. So yeah, you can say no fuel is wasted in this, but the thing is, since you have to accommodate now the electric motors here and the battery too, so yeah, the payload capacity kind of remains same. Then we have the avionics. Avionics is nothing but the flight computer it has. So the first stage has it. The all the rocket is made up of the carbon composite material, and this carbon composite material is like very lightweight, and that's why is preferable for a small sat launcher. Then the second stage is powered by the vacuum optimized Rutherford engines, which has a peak thrust of around 22 kilonewtons, ISP 333 seconds, and the kick stage. So today we will be having the kick stage, and it's like the kick stage is used when, okay, let me tell you when kick stage is used. Kick stage is used when we have a dedicated mission, okay, uh, and in a rideshare mission also, but the payload which is going to the orbit is less than this thing, 200 kilograms, right? So if it is less than 200 kilograms, then kick stage can accommodate some of the weight of the satellite, yeah, or the payload, which you can say, and then finally it will be used as a medium of increasing the delta V of the satellite. That's how it is used. So this is the plug-in payload which it has, and the fairing is like yeah, that's what it is, the Electron rocket. So hi Aaron, the Space Explorer, how are you? Now we can have a look at the payload and the mission profile. So payload here you can see is the Synspective StriX-α satellite. Okay, then this StriX-α satellite on board the mission will be the first of a series of spacecraft, uh, which is a planned constellation of more than 30 SAR small satellites to collect data of metropolitan centers across the world on a daily basis that can be used for urban development planning, construction and infrastructure monitoring and disaster response. So what is unique about this thing? We have so many Earth imaging satellites. So this is the Earth imaging satellite which you can see here. But what is unique about this thing? The unique thing is that it has the capability of taking the images at a millimeter resolution. Okay, so that's the thing. Hiya Harshal. So that we had that's what we had for the payload. But now the mission profile is this thing. The orbit which it is aiming for is sun synchronous orbit at an altitude of 500 kilometers, and it has a satellite. Yeah, the one satellite is there, and the countdown timer is at the top right corner. You can see that the milestones which this thing is achieving. So this thing, today's Rocket Lab Electron launch has a name known as the Owl's Night Begins. Rocket Lab loves to name its mission like these science fiction or something like these interesting mission names comes from Rocket Lab only. So yeah, they have this tradition to name like that. So this one has the Owl's Night Begins mission, and this thing, what are the milestone it is achieving? It is the first use of the expanded fairing option that the Rocket Lab recently introduced. The fairing which you are seeing here, so today they will be using a extended fairing version for their mission, and this will be the first mission which will be doing that. And so it will also the second milestone which will be performed is the advanced mid mission maneuver with its kick stage space tug that will shield the StriX-α satellite from the sun to reduce radiation exposure ahead of the payload deployment. It will do some kind of a maneuver in the orbit so as to shield the StriX-α satellite from the radiation coming off the sun. So why am I saying this? Because the mission profile says it so. This is the mission profile, and if you look at the timeline of the launch events, then you will see that once the stage 2 separation from the stage Curie engine cuts off. So Curie engine cuts off at around 54 minutes, and this after for 6 minutes will just coast into the orbit. So at that time the payload, you can say, can experience a high amount of heat. So this will perform kind of a mid mission maneuver to um, lessen the effects of those things. Okay, so this is the payload mission profile. We have the Liftoff, the stage 1 engine cutoff here, then the stage 1 separation, obviously, then the stage separation. After separation they will be using the recovery method for this thing. So it will just go and land into the landing, I should say, crash down or splash down inside the ocean, onto the ocean. Then the stage 2 ignites, stage 2 separates and it ignites. Then we have the fairing jettison. The fairing is also not reused in this thing, so it will also just go and be dished away. Then after that the second stage will reach the orbit. But the thing is, since it has this kick stage thingy, so it will have stage 2 engine cutoff in which the orbit will be reached. Then the stage 2 separation will be there, which will separate the Curies or the kick stage, and then the Curie engine will start. The kick stage has Curie engines in it, and then it will be like burning for uh, 2 minutes or so, and then it will, the payload separation will occur. So you can see it has a long coast phase of around like after 8 minutes and 40 seconds the stage 2 separation from the kick stage occurs. But then the Curie engine ignites at around 52 minutes, T plus 52 minutes. So at that time also it can be possible, it can perform such maneuver which does a thing to reduce the radiation effects on the satellite. Okay, and this is the overview of the Electron rocket. You can see here, these are the 9 Rutherford engine and the power pack. You can see why is it is saying the power pack, because it uses the turbo pumps which is being rotated by electric motors. Then obviously the first stage, the interstage is here. The Rutherford vacuum engine is here. You can see it has a quite a big nozzle as compared to these one. This is actually, you can say, kind of to the scale. So the nozzle which you are right now seeing in this one, in this the first stage, is kind of very little as compared to the second stage. You can actually see that, right? Then the second stage we have inside the and then we have the fairing, and inside the fairing we have the kick stage as well as the payload. Yeah, so that's the thing. So is when is China's moon mission is returning? Samuel says, Sam, is the China's moon mission will be returning tomorrow, and I'll be live streaming it, Samuel. So don't worry, you will get all the updates which you will like to have. So yeah, now let me see if we have the stream from them. Right now we don't have, so it's like 1 minute or so since we get the stream. So let's wait for that and see what else we get. Okay, so if you have any questions you can surely ask me and I'll try to answer those questions. So yes, go ahead with your question, guys. Okay, just a sec. Do we have any update? Let me just check it. I mean, sometimes since the launch window is like a good big one, so yeah. Any other update? Nah. Yeah, they are aiming for that time only. So we are like around T minus 24 minutes and counting. Okay, so in 4 minutes or so, the rocket lab will be live. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, just waiting for them to be live now. Once they are live, I'll switch over to that. Okay, I okay, so talking about Rocket Lab Electron recovery, which they did in the previous mission. I mean, they had the previous mission was the return to the sender mission, and I also live streamed that. That's the thing. But the unique thing about that mission was, first of all, that mission had so many achievements. First of all, the recovery method, that was the first time they are testing the recovery methods for the Electron rocket. And the Electron rocket was like, uh, also that stream, the Rocket Lab stream of that mission was had a charity funding to that. I mean to say, there was one developer of the game, I don't remember the name of him, he's a very famous game developer, and he was like, I'll give away $1 to Starship Children funding. That's not a Starship actual rocket, but the Starship Hospital, to whosoever watches the stream. It was like how many viewers, unique viewers they had, that amount of funding will be donated to that children, so funding. So it was a cool mission in which they also we also had a look at the mascot which actually went to the space, and when it went to the space there was the achievement which was unlocked. That was a pretty good overlay. uh, why do they use carbon fiber? It is not expensive way to do that. I mean, yes, you can say it's a kind of a expensive than steel, uh, but the thing is it is a very lighter weight, and for a small sat launcher like the Electron, they don't want to reduce the payload capacity because of its own material. So they want their own material of the rocket to be as light as possible, and hence they use carbon fiber. Yes, Samuel, it's not a New Zealand company. It's like a USA company, but registered in USA, but launches from New Zealand. So yeah, it's like a kind of weird, but yeah, it is how it is. And the Rocket Lab also released some cool footage of their okay, so they are live now. Let me just switch over to that. Okay. So yes, the Rocket Lab released some of the footage also of, and those were so pretty. I mean, the stage separation footage was there. I mean, that was the most epic one which I have ever seen for a stage separation. And then we had one footage when the first stage was like coasting down towards the earth. We had the one footage for that, and finally the splashdown footage is also there, which is also very cool. And if I get any time or so, I'll show you those footage and share with you. Yes, they do have a very cool logo. I mean, these companies, the SpaceX and the Rocket Lab, uh, focuses more on PR campaign, and that's why they have very unique and very good looking everything. Not only logo, but the streams, overlays, everything, because they are like the private company, right? So just a sec. Yeah. So they are like private companies, so they want to have funds and attract people like us, the normal people like us, to join and have their mission to be launched from their rocket. So yeah, they had to focus on the PR as well as the attractiveness of everything. The next launch, the ISRO launch, is scheduled for December 17th, and December 17th, yes, and I'm trying to do some pretty good things for that. I mean, I'll try to have some animations or so. So do look out for that. That will be very epic. Can tell you that. I mean, I don't know it will be very epic or not. I mean, I'm trying to do it like that, but it can turn around to be the worst dream also. So yeah, I'm trying something unique in that. So now the thing is they should be live for some time. This thing like coast, no, I shouldn't say coast, but it stays like this for some time. Then the coverage begins. So that launch, the say December 17 launch, will be the second launch of 2020 for ISRO. Otherwise, ISRO had a very big plans for this 2020 year for launching their Gaganyaan mission first flight, to launching some of the cool mission, the Astros, the that one, the Aditya L1 mission, and many more, and they had to stop everything because of the COVID. And hence like everything is pushed in ISRO by almost a year now. Now the thing which they are doing in this year is like bonus missions only. uh yeah, that's are the most priority thing, you can say, prioritized one. And in on the other hand, China is like launching and launching and launching satellites into space. Like so many satellites have been launched by China this year. And that's a good sign. I mean, when you are able to launch so many satellites into space in 1 year only, I mean, the China is competing with US with the amount of launches, and it's not very far behind US. I mean, the US consists of many companies which are launching. We have ULA, SpaceX, Northrop Grumman, and many companies. But here for this uh, China does have only one company, that is the space agency. Right now it is the private companies there is also like expanding and trying for a launch business, but for this year only the government agency was in the plan, and they only launched so many satellites. You can say the China is strengthening its space power, the USA is strengthening its space power, and India is like not the thing. The India is not in a competition for space race or something like that. India does not involve themselves into that, because the thing is, uh, ISRO, which was established for the betterment of the country, so it will be like more of a satellite provide launcher, and to, you can say, make money and help India's economy. So yeah, that's the thing. So let's just forget about this, talking about the Rocket Lab. So Rocket Lab Electron had a good successful recovery mission. Everything was done perfectly, and when they analyzed the Electron booster, firstly they didn't okay, they are now live. This is a New Zealand launch site which is pretty epic. This was the one I was talking about, the stage separation. I mean, that was the coolest video of 2020 for a rocket launch. The Owl's Night begins tonight, or today, whatever. Yeah, there.
Good
tonight.
evening and welcome to the live broadcast of Rocket Lab's final mission for the year, a dedicated launch for Synspective. Tonight's mission will be our 7th Electron flight this year and our 17th mission overall. My name is Max Muncy. I'm a data analyst here at Rocket Lab, and it's great to be joining you once again from Rocket Lab's Mission Control Center here in Auckland. This is a live view of Electron on the pad at Launch Complex 1 as it awaits its 11:09 p.m. New Zealand time launch. We're just 15 minutes away from liftoff as our launch operations team completes their final reviews and checks for liftoff. The weather is looking clear and all systems are currently go for an on-time launch this evening. Our mission requirements dictate we have an instantaneous launch window tonight, which means we only have a single moment in time for a viable liftoff. If we need to stand down for any reason, we do have plenty of backup opportunities over the next few days. Before we get stuck in today's mission, let's take a look back at our last launch, which lifted off just 25 days ago and raised $286,000
Wow.
for Starship Children's Hospital here in Auckland. So let's take a look.
This was the return to the sender mission. Yes, Genome. Yes, I was talking about that only, the mascot. See the stage separation. That was pretty epic, and the achievement unlocked when the Genome was into the space. I mean, that was so cool. This thing is into the space. This was the thing which they launched, man. Wow. Actually, there they tested
That mission
something
launched
for
just a
that
few weeks
material.
ago and carried 30 satellites to orbit, bringing our total number of satellites deployed to 95. We're looking forward to making that 96 tonight, but for now, I'll leave you with these views of Electron, and I'll be back with you shortly with an update on the weather.
Okay, so we have, okay, they have to taken a break kind of a thing, but right now you are seeing the Electron standing onto the launch pad and waiting for its on-time liftoff in around 30 minutes or so. And yeah, the last time they launched the Genome, which was to, you can say, enhance or encourage the gaming community of whole world. If I'm not wrong, that was like Half-Life 2.
So we're now at
Achievement.
T-minus 13 minutes, and all systems are go for an on-time
Okay.
liftoff this evening. The weather is looking good and trending green, and our operators are tracking no issues in these critical minutes before launch.
That's a really cool thing. So we have a weather update. I mean, that's what you can say. Like, so we are go for launch, and right now everything is looking nominal. This is the view of the Electron rocket. Like, it's not white. That's just the frost, which is covering the rocket. It's totally black, which I just show you. But the liquid oxygen and the liquid, the liquid oxygen is in cryogenic temperatures. That's why the fuel tank has this
Right now, we're
frost on
just
it.
T-minus 12 minutes away from our targeted launch time. Let's listen into mission control as they conduct their final health checks on Electron systems.
You can see the mission control is also like pretty cool here. Everything is black in here, and yeah, they don't seem to be like officials wearing some
All right. In all
formal
stations
dress.
LD on mission, we are now proceeding with the go, no-go sequence. Stage, how you go?
Stages go.
Avionics,
Avionics is go.
AFTS,
AFTS is go.
GNC,
GNC is go.
Recon,
Recon is go.
T1,
T1 is go.
GC,
GC is go.
BLS is go.
RSO,
RSO is go.
Met is go.
MM,
MM is go.
LD sub,
LD sub go.
exec.
Exec is go.
All stations, that's go, no-go sequence complete. We're currently T-minus 11 minutes, 14 seconds and counting. We go for the terminal count at T-minus 10 minutes. From this time, the three-way procedure is in effect.
Here we have the confirmation from the launch team that we are go for the launch, and let's hope this beauty flies.
And you've
we
heard it
see
there, our
this thing
operators and launch
go into
vector have
space.
confirmed Electron is go for launch. We're at T-minus 10 minutes before target liftoff, which should give us some time to talk about the customer on board. Tonight we'll be launching the StriX-α satellite for a Japanese company called Synspective, which specializes in synthetic aperture radar data and solutions, also known as SAR. If you're wondering why we named the mission The Owl's Night Begins, the clue is in the name of the Synspective satellite, StriX, which happens to be the genus of owls. The satellite launch today will be the first of Synspective's planned constellation of around 30 SAR satellites. The satellites are designed to provide images that show millimetre-level changes to the Earth's surface from space, through clouds, and at any time of day or night. Because it's so accurate and available in all weather, SAR data has a wide range of uses, including urban development planning, construction and infrastructure monitoring, and even disaster response. Synspective also recently announced a land displacement monitoring service that detects land variations using their SAR data, which can be particularly useful in things like planning construction projects. Advanced satellite-based solutions like these will continue to grow at today's launch. Here's a little bit more about that company, Synspective.
Okay, I can't have
What
this thing. Okay. So this is a pretty epic company from the thing itself. I mean, you can have a look at that only. Like, literally they are aiming for millimeter level resolution. Like, that is really very epic. Electron, oh wow, see this thing, man. The owl's night begins, so we had this owl's reference. I mean, wow. There, this thing introduction for their satellite is very, very, very uniquely and epically made. I like it very much. Making the constellation and everything. this has been the most beautiful and pretty introduction video to any satellite I have ever seen till now. I must say that. I mean, they are like the startup only right now, and the quality of the introduction video they have got it. Wow, that's incredible.
Patiently waiting for its ride to space, and because this is a dedicated mission, the 100 kilogram class satellite has Electron all to itself. Now, those of you who regularly tune into our launches may have spotted Electron's fairing looking slightly different for this mission, and that's because we're flying a custom fairing to accommodate the extra wide body of Synspective satellite. This mission demonstrates just one of a series of expanded fairing options that Rocket Lab recently introduced to support different payload shapes and volumes.
Avionics terminal checks account complete.
Thank you, Avionics.
Okay, so that was a avionic check. I think so. That's what they did. And yeah, the introduction video of the satellite, I mean, wow, literally wow. They're not like a huge company like Apple and Google which can afford to have such a beautiful introduction satellite video of the satellite. They're just like a startup company, and wow.
Avionics LD mission.
Go ahead.
Please proceed with sequence 48. Enable AFTS for flight.
Copy that.
We are T-minus 5 minutes and 37 seconds in counting. So everything is looking go for today's launch. Weather is looking good as per them, and Electron is just waiting for its time to lift off.
Well, it's hard to believe that only 3 weeks ago we flew our previous mission, Return to Sender, our rideshare launch that included 30 successful satellite deployments, a garden gnome that helped raise nearly $300,000 for charity, and last but certainly not least, our first Electron recovery. For the very first time, we brought Electron back to Earth underneath a parachute and fished it from the ocean a few hundred kilometers downrange from where it had launched just moments earlier. Our first Electron recovery was a huge milestone for the team and our recovery plans, and is setting us on a strong path to make Electron a reusable launch vehicle. We caught up with our CEO, Peter Beck, earlier this week for a quick update on all things recovery.
Congratulations to the recovery team. That team has pulled off a miracle with re-entry of Electron in the first ever attempt.
Okay. Can't play the audio right now, but I'll try to.
In the Return to Sender mission, we set out to achieve a number of things, and all of those things increase in complexity and risk.
One.
The first thing was to reorientate the stage and get it in the right angle of attack. We've done that a couple of times before, so that was obviously very successful. And the next big thing was to start deploying the parachute systems.
And this is going downwards right now.
We ticked off each one of those milestones one by one in a very successful manner, and then ultimately splashed down the stage at a really low velocity into the ocean in wonderful condition. So that was kind of like the giant. And in fact, there's even components on that stage that we intend to refly in an upcoming mission.
Wow.
So the thing I'm most excited about reusable Electron is two things. One, we can offer many, many more flight opportunities because we don't have to build so many rockets. And right now, we're pushing one Electron rocket off the line every 30 days. If we can reuse Electron, then we can create a lot more flight opportunities. Equally well, if we can reuse Electron and get them back in the condition that we're hoping now, it completely changes the economics of the small launch industry, which I think for our customers is really exciting. Electron is a reusable rocket. It's a great milestone, and I guess something a few years ago that I didn't even think was possible, so that makes it even more sweet.
I mean, that's a very, very, very good thing and very good news we had.
Next recovery attempt in the new year, but as a reminder, we will not be attempting to return Electron's booster to the factory with the mission this evening. We're now at T-minus 3 minutes to liftoff, with all systems green in the final countdown. So I'm going to hand you over now to the operators in mission control to listen in on their final calls ahead of liftoff.
Okay.
As goes the green.
Confirmed.
Beacon, please lock the auto sequence and confirm.
Locked.
All stations LD on mission. We are currently go for auto sequence start at T-minus 2 minutes. And at this time I can confirm LD is go for launch.
LD is go for launch. That means we are proceeding towards the countdown. We are right now T-minus 2 minutes and 25 seconds and counting. Everything is looking good. Let's hope this beauty flies. What made it impossible to do this 3 years ago? Well, because 3 years ago it was like Electron, Rocket and Rocket Lab company is like relatively very new. Okay, so 3 years ago it was aiming for just launching into space and getting the mission successful. And
All
then
AV bats have been switched to internal power.
after that, these things is happening. You can see that.
Vehicle is on internal power.
So I think the vehicle is reserved now. I mean secured, sorry, secured. No. We are T-minus 1 minute 34 seconds and counting.
LOX load is complete. System is in recirculation. Anti-gas ring disabled.
We are T-minus 1 minute now, guys. Yes, second stage is deorbited after the mission is completed.
Stage 1 and Stage 2 are at pressure.
Yeah, go for the launch now. This is happening,
High flow
guys.
engine purge is enabled.
You will see a beautiful light show into the sky, not in a wrong way, in a very right way. Don't worry about that.
You just activated.
No, for this mission they are not. So we are T-minus 30 seconds. This is happening. The launch arm has retracted. And T-minus 20 seconds.
T-minus 20 seconds
19,
and counting.
18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
Engine
3,
start.
2.
Such a spectacular launch, ignition and liftoff of the Electron rocket to the space, carrying the StriX-A satellites for providing the millimeter resolution of the Earth. Everything is looking good. We are having a good onboard camera view, such a spectacular view. We have the speed and the altitude there.
Enter to burnout detect mode.
Okay.
Electron has successfully cleared the pad at Launch Complex 1 and is on its way to orbit. We're at T plus 50 seconds into flight, and we're quickly approaching max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, and that's the moment in Electron's ascent when the pressures on the vehicle are at their peak. We'll be coming up on max Q in around 10 seconds or so.
Approaching max Q.
Max Q is like if the vehicle passes max Q, then the structural ability of the vehicle is tested fully and the mission
And
is
cleared max Q.
successful only if there is not a problem with the engine. So it has cleared
And
the
we just heard
max
the
Q.
call there. Electron has cleared max Q without any issues and is continuing on its way to space.
And now you will see the plume is expanding and expanding and expanding as it moves towards the space, because the atmosphere becomes lighter and lighter, so it does not have much pressure to
Stage 1
squeeze
guidance is nominal.
all those pressure plumes down to one area. That's why it expands, and such a beautiful expansion of the 9 rocket engines is we are having here. Wow. Those are not spark, those are actually
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
the ice which is
Stand
coming
by for
off
Miko
the
in
rocket,
approximately 30
looking like
seconds.
spark, but that's not it. It's
Very
the
soon, the
ice.
vehicle will shut down its Rutherford engines on the first stage to slow the rocket down before the first and second stages separate. This is a milestone during launch that we call main engine cutoff, or MECO. After the stage separation, the Rutherford engine on Electron's second stage will ignite to propel the stage to orbit. So let's listen in for those calls.
Wow, these plumes are looking so cooler now.
MECO confirmed.
MECO is confirmed, and
Stage
we have a
separation
stage
successful.
separation, guys.
Stage 2 ignition confirmed.
Okay, so this was a difference in here. We had, wow, the onboard camera on the second stage this time. This is so cool now. We can see the Rutherford engine being such a red.
And we've had
right now.
confirmation of MECO and ignition of the engine on Electron's second stage. In just a few seconds, the fairing atop Electron that protects the satellite during ascent will be jettisoned. Once Electron has cleared the Earth's atmosphere, there's really no need to keep the satellite enclosed in the fairing, so we jettison the fairing halves ahead of payload deployment to reduce weight on the way to orbit.
Stage 2 propulsion is nominal.
Fairing separation has been confirmed also. Like it should happen now, anytime. Are they having the problem?
And that's a successful fairing
Oh.
jettison. So Electron's
God.
second stage is continuing to orbit as we approach a process unique to our rocket, a maneuver that we call the battery hot swap, and that's coming up in around 3 minutes' time.
I was like they were taking some time for the fairing separation, and they had a new fairings for this thing, new type of fairing, and I was like have they messed up this thing? But no, they successfully deployed that, and right now the beautiful view of the rocket engine shining
Due to
and
the time of
glowing.
liftoff and positioning of the rocket, we're not going to be able to see too much in terms of views of the Earth this evening. But what we can see is that we're at T plus 4 minutes into the mission. And as we mentioned before, our next major milestone coming up is the battery hot swap.
In the battery hot swap, they will basically change to the second pack of battery after the depletion of the first pack, and they will ditch that first pack so as to reduce the mass of the rocket. So you will see that.
Stage 2 guidance nominal.
Guidance is nominal right now, and everything is looking good. The speed is accelerating perfectly. Altitude is looking good.
If you take a look at the top right of your screen, you'll see the live telemetry coming down from the vehicle. Electron continues as expected at a speed of 12,000 kilometers per hour at an altitude of 174 kilometers, with hot swap coming up in just over a minute.
That's a very important event, you can say, because it switches the turbo pumps power from one battery pack to another. So yeah, and then it ditches it. This is happening, and this unique rocket launch is like,
Because our Rutherford
Wow.
engines are electric pump fed, they quickly drain the batteries we have on board to power Electron. So we switch out the batteries right at the optimal moment for a third new one and a seamless transition of power source. The battery hot swap is scheduled to occur just under 6 minutes into the mission, and we're approaching that timing shortly.
yep, it is happening. You will see this the gray thingy, it will just go away. Yeah, here we go.
Battery jettison confirmed.
Battery jettison confirmed, and we are having a
Hot
good
swap successful.
hot swap also.
Stage 2 propulsion nominal.
Yes, that's a big milestone they achieved.
We've had confirmation that battery hot swap was successful on Electron, and second stage propulsion is continuing nominally.
The views are also great, but they have
FTS is saved.
like changed the camera angles also. Obviously, the thing is they are launching in from a place of the Earth where there is night, and the orbit is also like going in from the night to the sunlit area. So I think in the orbit only when the satellite, because the satellite deployment will be like for 60 minutes, so we will be having enough time to get to a sunlit area and having hope to see the Earth from the space. But they have changed the camera angle for this thing. I don't know why.
For those of you just joining us, on our 7th launch of 2020, we've had a successful liftoff, main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second stage ignition, and we're about a minute and a half away from separation of the kick stage from Electron's
whoa,
second
whoa.
stage. Electron is currently
Heating up.
traveling at a speed of 20,000 kilometers per hour at an altitude of 202 kilometers.
Is the glare of the camera? I think so, which is getting this thing like. The nozzle is not like this for sure. I think it's the camera which is causing this thing to have on our. Yeah,
H3 battery discharge.
it is going on to the sunlit area. I think so.
We've
That's
got a
why.
nice view of that stage 2 Rutherford engine on your screen with Electron well on its way to orbit. This second stage carries the kick stage that the StriX-α satellite is attached to before the payload is deployed to its final orbit. We're now approaching stage 2 separation from the kick stage, but first the Rutherford engine on the second stage will throttle down before shutting off completely to allow for a clean separation. We call this SECO, or second engine cutoff, and this separation of the stages will place the kick stage in an elliptical orbit around the Earth for a coasting period of around 40 minutes or so. After that, the kick stage's Curie engine will ignite to circularize the orbit around the planet before the payload is deployed.
Exactly. Now they are approaching the orbital velocity.
Francis and terminal, 6 seconds remaining.
Okay. And we
Seco
have
confirmed.
this thing here.
Stage 3 separation confirmed.
Stage 3.
And nominal transfer orbit is achieved.
Yeah, that's what we want. So it was like the sun which was hitting the nozzle. That's why it was like glowing white.
And there's a call from Mission Control. The Rutherford engine on the second stage has successfully shut down as planned, and the kick stage has cleanly separated. As I mentioned before, the kick stage will now enter that coasting phase around the Earth for about 40 minutes until it reaches the best position for a Curie engine burn to deliver the satellite on board closer to its final orbit. We won't have video of that payload deployment, but it should look something like this.
Okay. I mean, they are not having the camera on it. That's why. That is a. But they do have the animations, right? Okay.
You can keep an eye out on our social media channels for news of payload deployment within the next hour. So this is our last launch for 2020, but if you're looking for a new challenge in 2021, we're actively recruiting for close to 100 roles across all aspects of the business. If you think you've got what it takes to launch rockets and put satellites on orbit, then check out the career section of our website at rocketlabusa.com. Now, before we close out tonight's webcast, I'd like to take a moment to thank our mission partner, Synspective, for entrusting us with the first satellite of their constellation. It's an honor to work with such an inspiring and innovative organization and to be providing them with dedicated access to orbit. We'd also like to thank each and every one of our mission partners this year. We're grateful for your steadfast support, and we're proud to have continued delivering access to space throughout a challenging year globally. Last but not least, thank you to every one of you who tuned in or followed along on our 7 Electron launches this year. Space has a special way of bringing people together, and we're grateful to be part of such a passionate, curious, and supportive community worldwide. We can't wait to be back with you earlier in the new year to kick off an even bigger 2021. We're looking forward to many more launches and Photon missions, our first mission to the moon for NASA, which will be really cool, continuing to develop Electron as a reusable launch vehicle, and so much more. Without a doubt, it's going to be our biggest year yet. So from all of us here at Rocket Lab, thank you for joining us for today's broadcast, and happy holidays to you all. This is Rocket Lab Mission Control, signing off for 2020.
Okay. That was a good thing which they had in the last section of their stream. And now they are like, okay, so I have to. This is the view of the launch pad right now. You are having no rocket, nothing, just a launch pad. And they will be shutting off the stream right now. But I have something to talk with you, which I will for sure. Concluding the stream. Actually, the thing is, I really thought we will be having some views of the satellite deployment and other things, but today the Rocket Lab's cameras, onboard camera, was not, I mean, placed differently, and yeah, that was the thing. hopefully other times we had those satellite deployment footage, but today we aren't, so it's okay, not a big problem with that. But the thing is, yeah, we had a successful liftoff, and the liftoff sound, I mean, did you just hear that? If you had, that means you will be very much delighted, because that was such a raw liftoff audio which I have heard from the Electron rocket launch. And yeah, that's why I just kept mum at that time, and after that I was speaking. So we had a successful liftoff, a beautiful liftoff, I must say that. And then we had a successful space MECO with the beautiful plume building up, extending the plume and all. And then the stage separation, then the second engine start, and it was looking very, very good. With that, they achieved the orbit successfully. Now they are just in the coasting phase, and in the coasting phase, okay, let me just have that timeline for you so that you can see this thing. Where is it? Yeah, here we have. As you can see right now, at t plus 8 minutes and 40 seconds, we had a successful separation of the kick stage, and the Curie engine will reignite at t plus 52 minutes. So this Curie engine is on the kick stage, and kick stage is like the third stage of the Electron rocket, but that's an optional stage. Okay, when it is used when the satellite mass is less and we need more delta V to reach the orbit. uh, After that, it will run for around 2 minutes, then the engine will shut off, and then after 6 minutes the payload will be deployed. So at this payload deployment time, why do we have such a good amount of time in between the coasting phase? Sometimes it is because of the checks which had to be performed before the satellite deployment. Sometimes it is like they don't have the ground station to give the confirmation at that time, because it's like in a blind spot area. So once it reaches to some part of the orbit where there is a ground station, so then they detach the satellite. Because once the satellite has been like put into the dedicated orbit, so it does not matter where you separate the satellite. So it's just like checking on for some information, or having the ground station, or doing some kind of a maneuver. That's what the thing is. So yeah, that was pretty much about it. And we have a pretty good week ahead of the rocket launches. So today we had this rocket lab launch of the Electron rocket. Tomorrow is 16th of December, and 16th December we have the Astra rocket launch, but we won't be having the live stream of that, because this is, you can say, experimental rocket launch for the Astra rocket company. That's also a US based private rocket company, going in for the small set market, competing Rocket Lab in future. Then after 16-17 December, we have the ISRO's PSLV C50 launch. That will be much epic, because I am doing something, so do look out for that. And then on 17 December only, afterwards, we have the SpaceX Falcon 9 mission of NROL 108. That will be pretty epic also. And then on 18 December, we have the OneWeb 4 mission of the Soyuz, the OneWeb constellation of the satellites providing internet and competing Starlink. Oh boy, that's so many missions aligned back to back. A pretty good week ahead for the launches, so do look out for that, and do join me. I'll be answering your question at T-minus 30 minutes or so, and you can ask, and I'll answer. So yeah, until then, this is Priyanshu Roila. You just saw Rocket Gyan. Stay safe, stay healthy, and bye bye.